Welcome to BitBoy Crypto, where our mission is to empower you to have financial freedom through crypto assets. If you like the sound of that, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. This is Around the Blockchain. We come to you Monday through Friday, 5:02 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, talking about your favorite topic, which is crypto, with some of your favorite guests. Today is no exception. We're going to get right into it. On that top right corner with the wrong name, but we'll get it switched quickly. Actually, my favorite low-cap gem hunter. I do like Martini Guy. Still love Martini Guy, but I think Joe Parys is my new favorite low-cap gem hunter. He's always finding those gems. Always love his channel, so definitely check out his channel. Joe Parys. Trust me, we'll get the name right eventually. And also on that bottom right, we have MacNCheesy. You know, he's an investor. He's an engineer, but first, he's a teacher. Definitely check out his content. He puts out really good stuff.
Am I the real MacNCheesy? I'm starting to second guess. Am I Joe? I don't know anymore.
I can't tell anymore. I can't tell. You know, it's the boomer eyes. You know, I was up all night buying chain link. But, and then on that top left, we have, bottom left, we have Arcane Bear, who just put out a picture on Instagram. I thought it was James Dean. No, it's Arcane Bear in the jungles next to his motorcycle. He looks pretty cool. You look like a cool guy I want to hang out with. All right, and then in that top left corner, we have Ben with the green in the background because, you know, it's one thing on his mind, and that's making you money, BitSquad. That's making you money. But today we're going to be talking about the metaverse and a huge target by one of the big banks. Goldman Sachs is talking about it. Morgan's. These people are talking about $8 trillion market. Then we have, some call him the Giga Chad. We have good old Michael Saylor himself. Bought hundreds of Bitcoin. He just keeps buying the dip. We love to see it. And then, of course, we're going to be talking NFTs. They're not just JPEGs, as some would say. So let's get right into it. But before we do, you know what time it is, right? You know what time it is. It is time for me to type in coin market cap as fast as possible because I thought I saw it earlier. But it is time for us to check out the markets here. Oh, my God, he's not in dark mode. What are you going to do? So we have Bitcoin at 38,800 right now. It's kind of flat. It's up about 1% on the daily. Ethereum kind of still in the thunder right now. It is at 4%, kind of following what Bitcoin's doing. Now, Bitcoin has some serious levels to, you know, breach. It looks like maybe 38 is support. We're looking at 40. We're looking at flipping 40 and 42 into support from resistance. But, you know, we're going to be keeping an eye on that. Now, Arcane Bear, I know you love your charts. You're always finding some, you know, crazy charts, some crazy correlation that we never thought of or haven't seen yet. Is there anything going on with the Bitcoin charts that got you excited?
Yeah, there's two things. We'll start with the Bitcoin chart versus the S&P 500. So if I flip to my screen here, in the top in blue, you have the Bitcoin chart, and in the bottom, you have the S&P 500. Now, we've actually been following this S&P 500 chart for quite some time. One of the reasons being is this area here was a long-term accumulation, and you had the 2001 .com collapse and the 2008 financial collapse here. These are what were considerably called the bear markets. And this is one of my favorite parts about the bear market is understanding that when prices are low is when you want to be accumulating. Like any good bear, you should be foraging and filling your den with assets. And lo and behold, after we had what was supposedly called a crash or a bear market, we continued upwards. So pretty much any time buying in the bear market, you were getting the best dollar per asset price. Now, in Bitcoin here, what I think we're seeing is something very similar, which is a reaccumulation pattern. So we've seen this nice big run up. We've had our peak out. We've come back down, we've had another peak out and come back down. Now, for those of you that have studied, there's actually a really fun part here. We could dive into a little deeper if you want to do your own homework, but it's called 3 peaks and a domed house, which is what this is here. And these always seem to come back down to point number 10. And this is also what you see in the S&P 500. You saw 3 peaks and a domed house, very, very similar structure before continuing this almost outrageous bull market that we've been in since 2008. And if you just give me there you go. If you take a look at how this market continued from 2008 onward, we've seen a multiple 100% gain in the S&P 500. So I believe what we're seeing right now will be pretty close to the bottom. We could still get a few crazy scare wicks down just because that's how the market likes to behave. Just get rid of any like liquid or I guess derivative based positions, and then I believe is going to continue much higher quite quickly afterwards. So this is a really bullish chart for me. I think what we're seeing again is a repeat of a function of a reaccumulation pattern very similar to something like this, where you hit the top, come back down, and you get a nice accumulation and kind of leave. So something similar to what we saw with each of these. Now, again, they're like animal prints. They are a little bit different when you hunt them out in the wild, so they're not exact in these reaccumulation schematics, but I think that there's enough there to, at least for me, where I'm like really excited about where we are in the market right now.
Yeah, I'm feeling really excited. I'm looking at that chart, and it seems like it's about to go up and to the right. Chat is definitely
Yes.
loving that chart, and they're saying they see Batman. I see a little Batman ears there too. So if you like charts
Perfect.
like that, make sure you hit that like button. And also, every channel is going to be in the description, so check out their info. But let's talk a little metaverse target. We had some wild valuations given by the world's largest banks. So Goldman Sachs said it's going to be 8 trillion globally. And Morgan Stanley said it's going to be 8 trillion in China alone. So just China is going to be an $8 trillion metaverse market eventually. And that excluded NFTs. They're talking just valuations for some of these projects. So $8 trillion, much, much larger than the entire crypto market as it is right now, including Bitcoin and every altcoin in existence. We're hovering around too. So we're seeing about a 4x just for metaverse targets. Now, these are, serious banks, serious money, serious assets under management. Now, Ben, I'm gonna bring it to you. 8 trillion is less than the entire life and health insurance industry. And we all know how large the insurance industry is. It's the 5th largest industry on earth by market cap. So would you say that the Morgan Stanley, and the Goldman Sachs, are they overvaluing the metaverse, or in your opinion, are they undervaluing the metaverse?
Well, thanks for having me on the show, DEEZY.
Yeah, anytime. We always have a panel for you.
They say that you can't put a price tag on life, but you did it. So good job on that. I think that here's the issue. Let's just say issue. Here's the issue, okay, is that a lot of these banks, right, and a lot of these analysts, they put out predictions that don't have expiration dates. So, if you read into the story, basically what they're saying is, once it becomes truly disruptive, it can swell up to this much. Well, why can't it swell up to higher than that? Well, we're talking 100 years down the road, who knows how high it can get. And, this is a way for a lot of these, people to be able to look, be looked at as right. Whereas, we put expiration dates on a lot of stuff that we say, and sometimes it's right. We get to pat ourselves on the back. And then other times we, think about closing up shop and going home and never doing another YouTube video. But the fact here is this, is that when it comes to metaverse, I've said this for months and months and months, going back before before Facebook rebranded to Meta even, I've always said, not my entire life, not always, but for such a long time, I've said this. Metaverse will be bigger than crypto. So if you want to take the total market cap of metaverse, and you're talking about all of the intricacies of that, we're not talking about just the price of the tokens and all of the tokens that run metaverse. We're talking about the market when it comes to buying and reselling land. We're talking about the advertising dollars that are going to be, you see Budweiser, you see Adidas. Why do you think they're doing this? It's all advertising flowing into the metaverse. When we see the play to earn infrastructures that are being built, when we see the value of NFTs skyrocket because, they have to do with the latest and greatest, metaverse, game or whatever the case may be, when you take all of this into consideration, it's going to be bigger than crypto. Like, it's common sense, guys. It's common sense to think what is going to draw more interest? Something that involves financial instruments and economies. No, that's boring to most people. To most people, that's boring. Okay. Or something that involves video games, right? We all see where the world is going. Everything's becoming gamified. Now, there's certainly going to be a lot of overlap where you're, looking around and you're like, is this crypto? Is this metaverse? Is this both? Whatever the case. We know Facebook's Meta is going to be centralized. And think about all the money they're putting into that. I mean, that's another, I think ultimately it'll fail, but that's another caveat to all this. So ultimately, I think it's really silly of us to, and we are going to do this later, to put price tags on where we feel like things are going to go for this metaverse. because we don't know what we don't know. We don't know all of the new intricacies and all of the new, ways. Like, would you have thought 5 years ago, or well, let's go back further, 10 years ago, that buying and selling digital land would be a way to generate income? Most people would have told you that was insane. We're going to see more things like that in the future when it comes to this. So, I would say overall, I think it's undervalued. If we look at, crypto one day having a 20 or $30 million market cap, I can actually see the overall ecosystem metaverse being bigger.
There's one thing I actually didn't think about until you pointed it out, and that was the beer advertisers. Us older viewers remember mid-90s, late 90s, there was beer commercials everywhere. They advertised everywhere. The regulators kind of put a stop on, you can't advertise this as much. You can't use these cartoony characters. You can't use these frogs saying Budweiser. But,
Joe Camel. Everybody remembers
Joe Camel, Camel Bucks. But, now it might be the Wild West. There's going to be a lot of money for some of these companies, and they're going to be spending a lot of money. But yeah, these are really good things. Let's talk about some of the problems, some of the hurdles, some of the speed bumps. Joe, there's two kind of speed bumps that I see that are, possibly going to happen in the short term. We have regulation with, executive orders this and senators trying to pass legislation. Then we have innovation, all the goggles are kind of clunky. There's not, a lot of companies making them. They don't have, new ones coming out that often. It's not like an iPhone. So, Joe, what would you say is this biggest speed bump? Is it the innovation side or is it the regulation side?
Well, thanks, DEEZY, Ben, BitSquad. Really do appreciate being back on the show as always, and really grateful to be here. It's a really interesting question, DEEZY. But if we take a look at what Ben just talked about in the article that we were sent today, one of the things that they did say is it was going to take time, right? It's going to take a lot of time to get there. So I think that's going to be something that, we always want to move at lightning fast speeds, but right now I think that it's going to take some time. As it comes to regulation, I'm not super concerned about that yet because it's going to take time. There's so much unknown right now, and we have things coming out with Joe Biden about regulation, but they can't even regulate crypto right now. So for them to try to regulate the metaverse, I have no idea how they're even going to do something like that and where they're going to even begin. So I wouldn't be too concerned about that. And I honestly wouldn't be very concerned about innovation. Yeah, the headsets are clunky. We're not there yet. Gonna take time. However, we're getting there. Facebook is now Meta. We have tons of metaverse projects. We've seen a lot of innovation in the space. And I remember back at the end of 2020, I invested in Decentraland because I saw people actually building in there and doing stuff. And it was already kind of coming into form. Now it's not where it is today. It's a lot better today. But I remember investing in that project right around 8 cents. Now, unfortunately, I didn't hold on to that project. That was one of the only ones that I invested in I did not hold on to, which, kind of goes against the hoodie here. But anyways, I see the biggest problem with metaverse right now just being time. Give it time, patience. There's enough evidence that it is going to turn into things. We already live in a digital world. We're already on the internet 6 hours plus a day, like all of us. We're here digitally. I think it's going to come. Biggest thing, though, is time.
Yeah, time. And man, we all love that hoodie. The chat will not. Yeah, it's a pretty cool hoodie. But time, we speak of time and what is going to be happening in the future. Mac, I have a quick question for you. Let's just assume you're a high school guidance counselor. I know with the incubator, you like to teach. What did I say at the beginning of the episode? First, you're a teacher, right? So let's assume you're a guidance counselor here. Would you feel comfortable telling your students to, choose a career in the metaverse?
Okay, I'll put on my guidance counselor hat, and we're in a little session here. I don't think that would be my guidance. My guidance would be to learn technical skills, and by proxy, you can get exposure into the metaverse universe. I think by understanding and learning skill sets that are in technology, whether that's programming, whether that's understanding just how to navigate metaverse ecosystems, I think all of that will be valuable because that's the direction we're going. And I think there's a surplus of opportunities right now, and there isn't necessarily a surplus of qualified individuals. And why it's so difficult to kind of quantify the qualified individuals is because we don't necessarily even know what that looks like and feels like, because we are on the bleeding edge of all of this right now. And I think depending where I'm the guidance counselor, if I'm in middle school, high school, college, right? And Joe has kind of mentioned this, it's going to take time. And I think for a lot of these metaverses, a lot of them won't exist 5-10 years from now. So it's about getting skill sets that can translate. And maybe it's not just specific to this one specific metaverse. And I think going back to Ben's point about these predictions without expiration, I always think it's funny. Oh, it'll be an $8 trillion industry. The US dollar as we know it is getting destroyed by the second. Like $8 trillion today versus $8 trillion 20 years from now. Like, when are they going to start pricing industries in Bitcoin? That's what I'm interested in. Like, it's going to be a 5 million Bitcoin industry or something of that nature, because with inflation, $8 trillion might be nothing. Like, so I think it's just funny when they're making these grandiose predictions without a timeline, and the fact that inflation's running rapid. It's like, what are these predictions really?
Yeah, let's give some sort of, crazy valuation real quick. Arcane, just a real quick Moon Boy fantasy. This is a fake reality we're creating. This isn't like Arcane's real target. But let's say there is a $8 trillion metaverse. What does one Ethereum cost, Arcane?
MacNCheesy here made points I like here. Part of the difficulty is we're evaluating assets in a function that we could effectively call obsolete. Fiat currency is almost like a mass hallucination between people agreeing that something has value based off their confidence in the future likelihood of people of that particular country to pay back the debt that their parents took out effectively. So it's a pretty convoluted backstory for the U.S. dollar. One of the reasons why I really like Bitcoin and assets like this in general, there's some really interesting stories we could be looking at in the future of how patents start to come into play with a lot of this technology as people start to try to own aspects of the technology that was open source. So we're getting into some really weird area about how it grows, but ultimately what I'm seeing today, it's going to be astronomical, because this is where the metaverse is today. Things like Axes, this is to me an on-ramp for financial services to billions of people that we didn't have in the traditional Bitcoin ecosystem, where they needed a bank account, and because of that they needed ID. Well, now someone in rural Uganda can pick up a phone, start playing Axes, and earn their way into the DeFi sector. And this to me, and another point MacNCheesy made too, is like just how you participate with this ecosystem is so important, because whether you're a developer, a programmer, or whether you're a gamer or an artist, if you are participating in this ecosystem, you seem to be rewarded pretty highly for doing so. And I think that every early adopter, more so than where we're going to be in like a future evaluation, needs to understand that where we are today is going to lead to trillions of dollars of more growth. Whether we measure it in Bitcoin or we measure it in US dollars is probably irrelevant, but we haven't scratched the surface yet, because most of the time when a company like Facebook or Twitter or Instagram grew up, you got nothing back for it. And here we're seeing that mentality flipped on its head, where you are being rewarded in some way, shape, or form for the network growth of these ecosystems. And I think that in itself is actually going to further drive adoption, because now people are incentivized to continue to grow and share the networks that they enjoy participating in. So,
all right,
well beyond what we imagine. Yeah.
Let's just say I'll answer for Arcane. He said at least tree fitty. And I do have to push back real quick. Arcane Bear, you say fiat is just it is a story we tell yourselves, but it is backed by the government's monopoly on violence. If you do not pay your taxes, in that currency, correct, they will drag you against your will. So just I just want to put
slavery.
That out there. But all right, let's do the quick lightning round. We're probably gonna have to speed through these last two, but definitely getting this lightning round. We're going to be asking about the over-under, which is 50% would say it's below, 50% would say it's above. What is that, that particular spot in the middle? So let's set the odds for the metaverse market cap. What is the number you would set for the metaverse market cap? Let's just say 10 years from now. We just need one number. I'm going to start with you, Ben. What is the metaverse market cap in 10 years?
$12 trillion.
12 trillion. All right, Joe, what would you say?
I'm going to go with a nice round number of 10 trillion.
All right, 10 T's. MacNCheesy, what do you got?
4 million Bitcoin.
You got us with the Satoshis. I can't do the math quick enough. Arcane Bear, what would you say? Might be muted. Might be muted. He is speechless.
Something like 7 trillion. Yeah.
All right. So
Let's
we
go
got
just a little bit below what they believe for fun. Lots more
All
room
right.
for blue sky.
All right. Price is Right rules. All right. Now let's talk Michael Saylor by Signal. Yes, the man, the myth, the legend himself. Those who don't know, he just bought 600 more Bitcoin at the price of 37,200 or 865. That was the average price. That brings his average buy-in is right now, he just passed 30. He was at 29 or 28, I believe. Right now, he's at 30,200. So that is his average price. There is a little bit, I don't want to say alarm, but, there's a slowing down. In November, he bought 1,900. In December, MicroStrategy bought 1,400. January, he only bought 600. I say only BJ. He only bought 600 Bitcoin. So,
Only?
Joe, what does the average, the average guy, someone that watches Fox Business News, MSNBC, they kind of follow, the markets a little bit. They don't know anything about crypto. And all of a sudden they see this Michael Saylor guy get brought up and they see him popping up and he's talking about, Granite in Manhattan, So for the average person who doesn't know much about crypto, but they know a little bit about finances, do you think they take this as some sort, is this moving anybody over to the other side of the aisle? Like, is anybody, like moving the needle here?
I think for the average person, if they did see this happening, I think it would start to give them a little bit more confidence. I don't think it would necessarily move them completely out of fiat into Bitcoin, right? But when Tesla and PayPal and a lot of these other players, even MicroStrategy, have started to buy Bitcoin, we saw the price move up. I remember when there was a huge announcement for Tesla. When they bought Bitcoin, I think everyone got FOMO, and the price went from like 30,000 all the way up to 60,000. And so for the average person, I do think that they're going to be watching what the big guys do first, and then that's going to give them more and more confidence. A lot of people, they want to be kind of told what to do, right? And the problem with that is when we, not financial advice, of course, give our opinions, they then take that for face value and they can kind of get themselves in trouble. And so I think Michael Saylor, though, has just been he's got conviction with this. He's not going anywhere. And I really love what he said in one of his articles, which was, or he was on TV for this. He said the best, his strategy, right, with Bitcoin is he's never selling it, right? That's like his thing. He's got the Just HODL, hoodie times 10, right? So his idea is, I don't want to sell this stuff ever. This is the best form of currency. It's not going to get any better than this. I just want to keep accumulating. And even though it was only 600, it was still $25 million. It shows me again that he's committed. He's got the conviction, and it should definitely give us all a little bit of a hope, to say the least.
Yeah, it definitely gives you some hope. And I remember he was pushed back recently. Do you feel like, are you afraid of buying the top? And he said, no, I'll buy the top this year. I'll buy the top next year. I will buy the top every year until until I'm dead. So yeah, I'm very bullish. Now, MacNCheesy, when we watch these Michael Saylor interviews, they're just so, I personally, it feels so powerful, feels so impactful. What is it about Michael Saylor that does give it that extra credence, that extra little oomph factor?
The Giga Chad himself, Michael Saylor, he is our savior in the Bitcoin ecosystem. Fun fact, I shaked his hand at Bitcoin Miami and I haven't washed my hands since. But anyway, what was the question again? I just wanted to say
what is it about Michael that gives it that credit?
It was, did you shake his hand or shook his hand? That is what we all want to know. We're on the edge of our seats.
I'm a guidance counselor. I'm not an English teacher. For the sake of this episode.
But Mac,
you can actually ask the question now, DZ.
All right. What makes him different? Is it the fact that he's a CEO? Is it the fact that they have so much? Is it the fact that he's articulate? Is it the fact that he's doing all these television interviews? What is his it factor that does bring people like to the other side, that orange pills everybody?
At the end of the day, when you listen to Michael Saylor speak, he's extremely well versed in the subject. And hearing people talk with such strong conviction, who have a history of delivering from a business side and who have kind of put their words to paper, like pen to paper, basically. They own over 125,000 Bitcoin. In terms of just walking the walk after talking the talk. Like, he is putting his money where his mouth is. And I think having this consistent message is really something that separates him from like a lot of people in the crypto space. Like, he's putting his entire business on the line for MicroStrategy. Like, this is his bet. And if you look at MicroStrategy stock, like, it's basically in direct correlation with that of Bitcoin. So when you hear him talk about these things, I think when you listen and you hear his points, they make sense because they make sense. Like, there's a reason why we're all in this industry and why a lot of us are bullish on Bitcoin. It's because of this sound money principles that Bitcoin provides. And when you have somebody that, and also I think how he carries himself, right? Like, he kind of has the vibe of somebody who would be like the voice of Bitcoin in some sense. Like, he's got a little Elon in him, for lack of a better term. And he's just, end of the day, very smart. And I think when you hear people who are extremely intelligent talking about Bitcoin, I get riled up myself.
Yeah, definitely intelligent, definitely articulates it well. And, he kind of articulates the viewpoint of a Bitcoin maxi. A lot of people would say he's the ultimate Bitcoin maxi. But Ben, he also sees value in Ethereum, which definitely runs, contrary to a lot of Bitcoin maxis. What do you think makes him different?
So I think this is very important. Now, I asked him about this when he was on my show the last time. He will be coming on again here in a few weeks. But the thing is that he's not necessarily a maximalist. His exact words to me, I mean, I'm going to frame exact as closely as I can, was that basically Bitcoin is sound money. It's the, apex predator when it comes to assets and human history. Ethereum and all of the other altcoins, I mean, maybe not all of them, but the ones that are successful, they should be looked at kind of as venture capital projects. They're things that we should look at like, hey, you're investing in that network. You can make money on it if the chain, if it does well, if it takes off, it's pretty speculative. And I think that is a really good point. There really aren't that many Bitcoin maximalists, outside of the little Twitter circle. I mean, you got Peter McCormick, we like Peter, he's not a bad guy. The guy I did the debate with, you got Bitcoin Magazine, you got the American Hodl guy, you got, a lot of these folks, that are on Bitcoin Twitter, but the vast majority of folks out there, they understand that we're going to see an ecosystem where different things survive and thrive. The difference between a lot of these Bitcoin maximalists that we established on a debate on Twitter Spaces last week, admittedly so by the maximalists, Bitcoin is a cult, basically. Bitcoin maximalism is a cult, and you gotta say your prayers. You gotta hate the people that aren't of your specific way of thinking, and most people are more open-minded than that. Michael Saylor is an example of a guy who, number one, already had money. And I've said this many times. If you've already got money, investing only in Bitcoin, it's a fine way to go. When you're looking at hedge funds are happy to make a few percentage points, and you're looking at something that's definitely going to over double, I believe at some point, maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but at some point we'll get up to 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, $1 million, whatever the case may be. Then you're going to see massive returns. But if you got $5,000 and you put it in Bitcoin and it goes up to $1 million, okay, you made a little bit over 100,000. I think that math checks out. But that can change your life if you're in a third world country. But in America, that's about maybe 2 years of living wage, so something like that, maybe 2-3 years of a living wage, especially for a family. So it's not going to revolutionize your life. So number one, he's someone who already came from money, so it makes more sense. He doesn't believe that only Bitcoin will survive. He believes that Bitcoin is the best one. He's got the money to invest in it. And let's face facts. In my opinion, Michael Saylor wants to be the face of Bitcoin. He wants to be the king of Bitcoin. I think there is some competitiveness, that flows through him. I think that he loves the spotlight. Oh, look, I have a YouTube channel. So somebody said like, oh, look, this guy loves attention. Well, I got a YouTube channel. The whole idea of a YouTube channel is to get attention. So yeah, of course, if somebody's got a YouTube channel, they want attention. Michael Saylor does a good job of putting himself out there. And I think that, you know, ultimately he's just so all in on Bitcoin. Like, it's his brand to be all in on Bitcoin, but you don't see him saying a lot of the negative stuff about other, you know, layer one protocols and different things in crypto, like you see, you know, some of these, you know, Bitcoin maximalists and haters say.
Yeah, and real quick, definitely check out that old interview. Someone in the chat said, but Saylor didn't get Ben's humor. That's what made it hilarious.
He laughed
hung out
once.
he laughed once. I've been with Ben a lot. You know, he's always trying to make the waitress laugh, the flight attendant. So it was funny just seeing him scratching at the wall that was Michael Saylor. But you got him once. You got him once. So you definitely have to watch that channel. And make sure you hit the like button when you go watch it. And if you're watching this live or if you're watching at home, hit that like button, hit that subscribe. But let's we're running out of time. So let's get to the fourth topic here. NFTs, just JPEGs. We're talking about Kanye West. So we have a little bit of we have a picture of him looking crazy. We can't show you the bottom of the picture because the photo cuts off. Not because any other reason. So, you know, he spoke about NFTs. They're asking him, are you going to do NFTs? Some colorful language that we're not going to, you know, I can't exactly quote him, but let's just say he's not interested in it right now. He's interested in building real music, real food, real clothes, and real shelter, along with some other colorful comments that we're not going to repeat here. But, you know, he clearly is aware of it. Clearly, a lot of people are approaching him trying to do, you know, whether it's music NFTs or NFTs. He has a fashion label. I'm sure he's approached many times a day, all over the place. And he's just saying, not right now. Now, what is the next step for NFTs, you know, over the next year or two? Do you see a world where the tech is there and there are real things being provided where some of the people are saying, it's not real enough, they'll maybe come on over? What is the timeline for that? Is that a year from now, 5 years from now?
The timeline is now. It's happening as we speak. In terms of building and actual providing utility to NFT holders, it's literally happening in real time. Today, Coachella announced that it might have. Today is when the news came out. I don't know if they officially announced it today, but that they're going to have lifetime passes, NFTs that give you lifetime access to the Coachella music event. So it's funny that Kanye is talking about this when there's clearly a direct correlation in the music industry. But in terms of actually delivering value to token holders, we're seeing this being built as you speak. Like part of the incubator, right? We were one of the first tech companies that did token gating on a Shopify website. So if you're an NFT holder, you can actually get a discounted product by owning the actual NFT. So you're giving back access to the NFT holders. Like, it's happening in real time, and the smartest engineers are working on this, and they are going to find ways to identify value add opportunities to NFT holders. So sure, right now, a lot of it is just money grab opportunities. And someone like Kanye West, if he were to launch an NFT, he could make however much money he wanted, 25 million, 30, whatever it is, it's going to sell out. And he's seeing that, and he's seeing a lot of people. He likes to zig when other people zag. And right now, everybody's going the NFT route. So I think he will come on board because the opportunities here, and a visionary like him, he could have some fun with this environment.
Yeah.
And I think he'll open up to it over time.
All right. Well, speaking of zigzags, let's bring it to Arcane Bear. Now, I say that because he lives in the mountains. So he lives in the mountains, so he's always like in these serpentine trails. Now, what would a Kanye West NFT look like? And you get bonus points if it's a play to earn NFT. Let's just assume one day he does step into the arena. What can we expect?
It would probably be like a farming game. It would be a Kanye West farming game. You'd be able to I always see him drive some farming tractor around. I actually know nothing about regular common pop culture. All I know, Kanye West has a bunch of followers, and you know, here's the interesting thing about being an artist, where I could maybe feel where he's coming from, is that the social media space in general hasn't actually created a lot more at least a feeling of connectivity. Like overall, over the last 20 years or something, people actually started to feel more and more disconnected. Now, that's not always the case, but social media has actually created some disconnect. I think maybe what he's trying to get at by this idea of like creating something real, something that has a bit more tangibility. Now, this is always one of the arguments that it took people a long time to understand with Bitcoin. It's like, wait, there is tangibility to mathematics, right? There's a form and function. If I know a certain set of specific rules for physics, I can build a jump and I can get you to land at this specific spot based off a few calculations. So I think ultimately where artists are having troubles with a lot of the sentiments here is how do you utilize it, right? Is it a ticket? Is it like a pass to enter specific parts of the website? We've seen it integrated in Discord. And it's probably inevitable that they will all adopt, just because it'll become commonplace. You won't even know you're using a lot of the stuff, like your NFT. Like it'll be like some pocket pass. You'll be able to walk by, scan your ticket. It'll use an NFC. They do a lot of this stuff already. Like if you go to music festivals, I've been to a bunch where they don't use cash there anymore. You just click your arm up and they scan the wristband or something. So you see a lot of the evolution of this stuff in music festivals. Music festival here that's doing something similar. So I think it'll be inevitable. But my guess at where his snub is coming from is like something more, like building something more tangible and real for people, in terms of like how do we get you to spend more time outside instead of on the computer? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Totally nothing to do with the metaverse, but just my kind of intuition of what he was getting at there.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Let's talk about what he was getting at now. Joe, he railed against a paparazzi recently, and he was saying, eventually we'll tokenize celebrities, image and likeness, and then you'll have to use the blockchain technology to, pay me a percentage, a royalty. Some sort. You're making money off of me. I get my little cut. Everything's on the blockchain. It's going to be simplified. Do you see that ever happening?
I mean, I definitely think it could happen in the future. It might take some time for this to happen, for sure. But, I'm actually going to go a different direction and defend Kanye here. I think he's way smart enough to see that NFTs future, and that all of the things that Arcane Bear and MacNCheesy have already, gone through in this this video here is coming, and it's already here. I just think that he's not just going to do an NFT to do an NFT. If he's going to do it, he's going to do it his own way. It's going to be different. It's going to be something unique. It's going to bring way more value than just a Kanye NFT, or, like, come to my concert and use my thing. And like, maybe it eventually will get to that where it's just so commonplace that everyone is doing that. And like, he's like kind of forced into doing it because, it's kind of like going to a sports game, like most people use their mobile phone now, right? You don't like have a ticket that you go and you can scan. Sometimes you can do that, but most people just use the mobile phone now. So I think eventually he's going to get there with it, but I think he really wants to do something unique. And right now, I just think a lot of people are like, Kanye, do the thing. Come on, man, do the thing. And he's just like, no, I'm not going to do it because everyone wants me to do it. I'm going to do something on my own time. Give me some space here, and let me show you how it's really going to go. So
yeah, well, go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish in a second, but Ben has one of the greatest shows of all time. No, that's a good point. We are gonna it's gonna be interesting to see, like, it's a good point. You tell him to do something, there's a good chance he's just gonna say no. Ask him. Oh, Ben, a final question here. We're gonna bring it to you. Is this all a smokescreen, and is he actually maybe working on something right now? What would the Kanye utility be?
I think that's a very interesting question, because I'll be honest with you. I hadn't thought about this until I saw this question. And when you really go back and you look at the post that he made, it says, everyone else stop asking me to do NFTs. Now, there is one message of it that is, I create real, he said real, food, real shelter, real clothing, and real world stuff. But what if this is a play for him to create some kind of, he's innovative, right? We all know he's innovative. If he comes to the game, he's definitely going to bring it to another level. So if you think about it, if he were really getting kind of, like a sneaky snack here, what he could be doing is set up like a merging between something that's a real asset and an NFT. Maybe an NFT that's a representation of something physical, which we've seen before. He wouldn't be the first person to do it. But I think there is an angle there. If you really read into this and you look at that last line of that post where it says, ask me about it later, it does beg that question. Like, is that possible that he's doing something on his own and he's working on something and he's trying to get people to leave him alone because he's doing his own thing? The beautiful thing about somebody like Kanye West is that with him, you never know. You never know what his motivations are. He does such a good job of being a veiled person. And I, like I said earlier today on the stream, like I'm fascinated by him. I'd love to talk to him one day. Very, very interesting. And that could be something that could be in his wheelhouse.
Yeah, go listen to Donda if you haven't already. But that is all we got time for today. And Mac just squeezed it out of Ben Armstrong there at the end. So MACNCHEEASY, also known as the professor, also known as the guidance counselor, also known as the main incubator. Go ahead and leave us with some parting thoughts.
I appreciate it, DEEZY. Phenomenal show. If you're watching still, make sure to smash that like button. Helps us get to more people. Go down to the description below. Follow everyone on this panel. If you're here, that means that you're probably ahead of 99% of people in terms of learning about the crypto ecosystem. And bull and bear markets happen, but as long as you stay and as long as you continue to learn, you will be happy and you will prepare yourself for that financial freedom.
And if you want to prepare yourself, make sure you check out Frankie Candles. He's going to be on after the show, about 10-20 minutes. So that is all we got time for today, BitSquad. And until next time, DEEZY out.